Hey, I'm Justin Messina, and today I'm going to be breaking down my short film, Gemma. Gemma is a 12-minute action film about a woman fighting back against human traffickers. If you haven't seen Gemma yet, now is the perfect time to watch it because we just released a brand new 4K version of the film with a lot of visual and audio tweaks. It's available for free on our YouTube channel. I will put the link in the description below. And now would also be a great time to subscribe to keep up to date with all of our latest film projects. Okay, let's get into it.
Man, I gotta tell you about this girl.
So the idea to create Gemma really stemmed from a conversation I had with Tamara, who plays the lead character. Tamara and I grew up together, we're essentially family. I was living in LA at the time, and she was back home in Jersey where I grew up. And we were just kind of texting. She was saying she really wanted to get more into acting and specifically doing some stunts and action work. And I've always wanted to make an action film. And so I was like, okay, this is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna come home for Christmas and let's make a short film. I wrote a script, I bought a camera, and Gemma was sort of born from there.
They run one of the biggest human trafficking rings in the world. They have branches all over the country. But we will get them.
I originally chose the topic of human trafficking for the film because honestly, I just thought traffickers made for an easy villain to hate. We don't need a ton of backstory. We don't really need to know what they're doing. We get it. And especially in a short film where you just don't have much time to establish all of that, it felt convenient. And then I started doing more and more research into the topic, and it's something I've really become passionate about. It is a major problem in the world. It affects every country, every state in the United States. It really happens everywhere. And it doesn't always look like this with girls being tied up and drugged and kidnapped. It very often looks more like a friend or family member or a boyfriend or girlfriend getting close to somebody and then coercing them into this. There's a lot of psychological manipulation that happens.
Are you gonna kill all of them?
One by one.
We shot the film with absolutely no budget. I know people talk about micro budget filmmaking. This was like zero budget filmmaking, like absolutely no money. I wrote, directed, shot, edited, everything pretty much myself. We didn't really have a crew other than every now and then having a friend or family member hold a microphone here and there. We used, really all practical lighting and did it kind of guerrilla style.
Man, I gotta tell you about this girl. She's absolutely amazing.
So the opening of the movie was very different in the original script. I had this friend in college who was studying abroad in Europe, and she was at a train station late at night, and this kind of creepy man came up to her, and he had this girl with her who looked like she had been drugged, and he started talking to my friend and tried to grab her, and she ran, and she always said, like, I think I almost got kidnapped by traffickers. And that story kind of stuck with me. And so that was really the original opening to Gemma in the original script. Gemma was going to be at this train station. Barkley was going to come up to her with this kind of girl who's kind of out of it, and he was going to chloroform Gemma. We shot the whole film, but we ran out of time to shoot the opening scene. So I had to wait a whole another year to come home for Christmas again to shoot the opening. And a few things happened in that year. One of the things I learned, fun fact, is that chloroform isn't really a thing that's used in the real world. Obviously, it exists, but it's an anesthetic. So essentially, you have to use the exact right amount, or you either kill the person you're using it on because you've used too much, or they don't pass out because you haven't used enough. So like real world kidnappers don't really use chloroform. It's very much a movie trope. But the issue was that we had already shot the next scene where she wakes up, so I needed to find a way for her to be passed out. So the second version of the opening is really Gemma walks into a bar and he notices her and they start talking and flirting. It's almost like rom-com style, sort of meet cute. And then she kind of realizes, wait, I think he put something in my drink. She stumbles out into the parking lot and he chases after her and she passes out. He loads her into this van. And then, of course, we find out she was faking it and is this badass, but we don't know that at the time. And so that was the version of the opening that I was completely intending to film. And then what happened is John Michael, who plays Barkley here, moved to Boston. And he was only going to be home in New Jersey for literally, I think it was Christmas Day. And so I couldn't get everyone together on Christmas Day. So I was just kind of like racking my brain. I was like, is there a version of the opening that I can shoot with just John Michael? What if he's describing that scene?
She walked in wearing this absolutely gorgeous, sexy-ass red dress.
We still kind of get that misdirection. You know, it sounds like he's met the girl of his dreams, but really it turns out he's just found the perfect target is really what he's saying.
Yeah, I drugged her, but I probably didn't need to.
And I think it works really well. I think it kind of set up this sort of ominous tone. It's kind of moody and dark and shadowy. And it also sort of hypes up Gemma's appearance because we don't see her for the opening of the film.
She smiled, so I got up, went to go buy her a drink.
A lot of the dialogue in this scene was improvised. I did write a script, but I wanted it to feel natural and conversational, and I wanted John Michael to feel like he could kind of just riff with it. I also had my husband sitting in the passenger seat, which you can't see, doing the other half of the phone conversation. So they really are kind of talking to each other again, because I know it can be hard sometimes to have a sort of fake phone conversation by yourself. So we were shooting this. I was having some issues with the lighting because it just was so dark. And so we found a parking lot of a bank that had these beautiful street lights, just kind of gives it this nice warm glow. And we were really worried that someone was going to call the cops because we were in this huge cargo van just driving in circles around a bank at like probably midnight on Christmas Day. But nobody called the cops and, you know, we got away with it. So a lot of the overhead streetlights and some of the lights outside of the van are shot in LA, and all the interior stuff is in New Jersey. So it's kind of this fun blend of my two worlds at the time. There's like LA and Jersey. John Michael is my absolute best friend and such a sweet guy that it's fun to see him play a villain. And his mom even was like, "That's not my son. That's not my son." She like couldn't fathom him being so evil and sinister.
Hey.
So this is her, huh?
This was another scene we shot a year later. I was a little bit worried because of the new opening that people might get confused between John Michael, who plays Barkley, and my cousin here, Eddie, who is kind of one of the goons. They might think that they were the same person if we just cut right to the next scene, which is Eddie tying Tamara up. So I wanted to just add a little scene to establish that there were two different people here and that this is kind of part of a larger operation.
Where do you want her?
Yeah, and the idea being here that she's kind of being dragged out of the van almost like a sack of meat, and just the way they're talking about her like she's produce, basically. So I like to do a lot of takes from a lot of different angles and try a lot of different things. Tamara, she was getting dragged out of this van like over and over. I don't know how many takes, like 20 takes. And finally she comes up to me and she goes, "I don't think I can do anymore." And she turns around and there are like scrape marks down her back that were like practically bleeding. And it was because in the back of the van, it was like basically carpet. So she just had this horrible rug burn down her back. And I was like, "Tamara," I was like, "why didn't you tell me? We could like put something down or something." And she's a black belt in Taekwondo. And she's like, "In Taekwondo, they teach us, you know, push through the pain, don't complain." I was like, "Well, this isn't Taekwondo, this is a movie." I always say, like, she really did put her blood, sweat, and tears into this role. This, again, because I only had John Michael on Christmas Day, I shot him in the front seat separately, and then Tamara and Eddie in the back seat on a different day, and kind of cut it together. So this was the first scene we shot, actually, which was very nerve-wracking. I had never shot really a fight scene before like this. It was a new camera I'd never used before. I was definitely nervous, but it actually is one of my favorite scenes in the film. The concept here was that Gemma is so skilled that even with her hands and feet tied, she can still kick the crap out of a grown man. Originally, I was going to have Tamara's hands tied behind her back, because she actually can do this really cool thing where she dislocates her shoulder and can like literally put her arms from back to front over her head. But because she's had been working out so much and her muscles were tight that she was like, I don't know if I can still do it. So I didn't want her to obviously hurt herself. Eddie is also a black belt, but unfortunately he just really gets beat up in the scene and doesn't get to show off too much. We always joke that Eddie looks like Bruce Willis. And actually, I posted a screenshot on social media and saying, Bruce Willis is in my film. And I think one of Eddie's friends or somebody was like, oh my God, it really does look like you. And he's like, no, it is me. And they're like, ha ha, very funny. And he's like, no, it really is me. It's not Bruce Willis.
What the?
I ended up liking this scene so much that when we went back a year later, we actually added more to this just to make the fight scene a little bit longer. Of course, Tamara no longer had those sort of bleached streaks in her hair, so I put these terrible fake extensions in her hair that we just tied in, and they looked so bad. I had to cut around them, and they kept falling out. It was not good. That shot where she breaks the tape off her wrist, she really did that over and over and over again. I think her wrists were raw by the end. But that is supposedly, if your hands are ever tied with duct tape, that is how you do it. So that is not movie magic. That's real. Eddie took a bad fall there and landed on his elbow pretty hard. And of course, that's the shot that made the cut, because it looked convincing. But yeah, I felt bad. The blood, this is my secret formula. It is just chocolate syrup with red food coloring in it, which I love and I always use because it looks pretty convincing, and you can put it in your mouth and whatever. It's super safe. So this shot, Tamara actually kicked the lens of the camera. And I thought for sure it was gonna crack, but somehow it did not. Of course, again, that's the take that I used because her foot got real close to that camera. You can see my other cousin briefly in the background here. So in the original script, there was another little mini fight scene here. There was kind of a bad guy kind of patrolling the hallway, and Gemma was gonna take her necklace and strangle him with it. Gemma uses all of these different symbols of femininity or womanhood as weapons or tools. So she uses her earrings as a lockpick. Her ring has got the smelling salts in it. And of course she uses her heel later to kill Barkley. So kind of all these things that we think of as feminine objects can also be symbols of strength. And this scene was going to be another sort of example of that. But we ran out of time filming it. And honestly, I couldn't even find somebody to play another bad guy. I honestly tapped every single friend and family member to be part of this project. So I just kind of ran out of people, honestly. When we went back a year later, we just shot this little scene of her walking down the hallway. I just wanted to give a little more connective tissue between the scenes. You can see the rug burn on Tamara's back here as she's walking. Oh, it's so painful. So it's not exactly how you pick a lock in real life. I think you need 2 tools, but whatever. It's close enough. And the idea was cool, I thought. Now, no one has ever noticed this, but the lighting behind Gemma changes pretty drastically when she opens the door. So you can see the room she's in before is pretty brightly lit, and then she opens it, and then it's pitch black behind her. I've pointed out to people, and they're like, oh, yeah, I guess. I think it's because we shot the scene with the girls first, and I liked how it looked with the darkness behind her. And then when I went to shoot the scene of her picking the lock, which actually it is the same door, it was just so dark in there that we couldn't see anything, and we didn't have lighting, so I just had to turn the overhead lights on. On the right there, that is Tamara's sister, Melissa, who's also a really good friend of mine. And then playing Brooke here is my cousin Dakota. I felt really bad because Dakota posted this pic of her with the tape on her mouth on social, and she got called down to the principal's office. I think she was a senior in high school at the time, and they showed her the picture, and they're like, what is this about? And I was like, oh my God, I felt so bad. And she had to be like, it was for my cousin's film project. And I was like, ooh.
Come on, girls, let's go.
My one constant note for Tamara was that Gemma is just always annoyed or over it in every scene. Like, it doesn't matter if she's rescuing people, helping people, kicking somebody's ass. Like, she's just like, ugh, now I gotta deal with this. Every scene she'd be like, I know, I'm annoyed in this scene, yeah.
Come on, we gotta go. She's passed out.
So, Satal here is passed out on the ground because she was supposed to be the girl in the opening scene who was kind of drugged out. So this was going to be sort of the aftermath of it. And actually, she's married to John Michael, who plays our villain, Barkley. I've always been obsessed with poison rings for whatever reason. Like, I love that idea that you can hide little things in them. So I've always wanted to do something with a poison ring. And I just thought this is a cool opportunity. Here we use it with smelling salts.
Follow me, stay quiet, and do not move unless I say. Got it?
I did all of the Foley myself, which Foley is like footsteps and things like that. And so that included walking around in high heels pretending to be Gemma. So in a way, I'm also Gemma a little bit. Aren't we all Gemma? So I actually had a totally different location planned for the film, and literally the day we were shooting, the location fell through. So it was going to be this storage facility, which we ended up shooting in later for our next film. The idea was going to be like the girls are like in different storage units, and it was way more kind of industrial feeling. I went to the location the morning of the shoot to kind of like get everything set up, and they were like, oh, the owner is gone for Christmas and we can't reach them, so you can't shoot here. And I was like, I've got all these people coming today to shoot. Like, what am I gonna do? So I almost literally canceled the film. I almost was like, well, I guess we're just not doing this. Like, where am I gonna shoot it? I was with my mom, and she was like, well, hey, I'm going over to the church. I have to drop some things off. Why don't you come and see? Maybe you could film in the basement there. And I've been in our church basement a million times, and I was like, I don't think that's gonna work. But I'll go with you anyway. And so I went and was looking around the basement, and I found all these rooms I had never seen before, like the boiler room, these little, side rooms that just were like storage and whatever. And I was like, this could actually work. And actually it was a total blessing. It was a way better location. We ended up spending hours and hours and hours and hours in this location. We had like guns and things, and trying to shoot that in a public like storage facility, I think would have been really hard. It's a lesson I've actually tried to carry with me through every other film I've worked on, which is sometimes when things fall through or don't go the way you intended, there's an opportunity to make it even better and to do something different.
Stay here.
I always wanted the odds stacked against Gemma throughout the film. Obviously in the first scene we had her tied up. Here she's fighting two guys. We choreographed the fight scenes ourselves on set right before we shot them. Very little rehearsal. We didn't have professional stunt guys there with us. And I think they turned out decent. I wish we had had a little bit more time for the choreography and maybe had some more professional help with it. But for our first attempt, I think it worked out well. I usually hate when action movies put women in high heels, but in this case, it was very intentional. The point was that Gemma can do everything the men can do, but backwards and in heels, a la Ginger Rogers, with the idea being that femininity and womanhood is not weakness. And I told Tamara, I said, you don't have to wear the heels for the shots where we don't see your feet. You can take them off. And she really insisted she wanted to do it in the heels. I think her feet were bloody by the end of the shoot, but she really did do it. It changes the way you walk and carry yourself and move in them. So yeah, she was a champ. This actually is Dakota's dad. Dakota plays Brooke, so that's actually her dad there getting beat up.
Get back in your rooms.
Get your hands off me, creep.
And this is the big kind of twist moment. Gemma doesn't work alone. She has a whole team helping her, including Millie, played by Esperanza here.
Who the hell are you?
Just a girl.
The "just a girl" line is a callback to the opening scene where Barkley says, I gotta tell you about this girl. I actually pictured this moment a lot gorier. I had planned to go back and film John Michael like spitting out blood and blood kind of like oozing. It was going to be very Tarantino-esque, but we really ran out of time to do it. It really kind of speaks to the power of sound editing. So the sounds of like the bones crunching and stuff, I had like lettuce, I think, and I was like, twisting it and crunching it. And I had, might have been a screwdriver or something that I put into a watermelon for that kind of like squishing sound. And, people always, when I show the scene, they wince, they go, oh, and you really aren't seeing anything. It's all just kind of implied, but that's the power of sound.
Let's go.
It was freezing when we shot this scene. I felt so bad. The girls in particular, like they were so cold. It was frigid. So we shot this very fast because I just felt bad. I almost didn't even have enough coverage to cut this scene together. Danny here driving the van is Tamara's husband. So I gave him a little cameo here, and there's some cute banter between them.
You're late.
Hello to you too.
And really, throughout the film, no one is who they seem at first. First we meet Barkley and we think he's kind of this love-struck guy. And then we find out he's a human trafficker. And Gemma looks like she's this victim. And then we find out, oh, actually, she's this badass superhero. Same with Millie. She kind of turns the tables. And then Reed here, we think, oh, this guy's pulling up with a gun. He's a bad guy. And actually, he's one of the good ones. I had to figure out for myself what the sort of larger world was. Obviously, there's a bunch of people working together to free these girls. So I kind of figured out who Millie is, who Reed is, what's the company they're working for. Even though it's not explicit in this film, it was so kind of like clear to me who these characters were that I just couldn't really let them go. And so I started toying with the idea of doing more films while we were filming, and that's what we've done now. We've shot 3 more films. Our next film is about Millie, so we'll get to go a little bit deeper into her story, so I'm really excited about that. And that will be coming out really soon, so definitely stay tuned.
Thank you.
Just doing my job.
So most short films probably would have ended with them driving off, but I just wanted more story. I'm not a great short filmmaker because I just want more and more and more of my characters, my story. I want them to grow and change. But you know what? This actually is one of my favorite scenes, even though it's a quieter moment. You really get a sense of the characters and the scope of the story and what they're going through.
The head guy, Barkley. He said if I'd escape, he'd kill me. He made me do things. He made me.
Well, he's dead now.
I tend to consider myself a dialogue writer. I feel like that's one of my strengths. But I knew with this film I was going to not have a crew, so sound was going to be challenging, which is why I purposely limited how much dialogue there is throughout the film. The audio in this scene actually ended up being pretty much unusable, so we ended up ADRing all of it, which is like we overdub the lines. Pretty much almost the entire film is ADR'd with the exception of, I think, a few lines in the opening scene. There's a nice bookend here with Barkley driving the van in the opening scene, and now Gemma's taken the wheel. She's in the driver's seat. We shot all this in the parking lot of a mall. I love the look of it, but if you really pay attention, you can kind of see that they're just kind of driving around in circles in an empty parking lot. Brooke is really trying to connect with Gemma, and Gemma's trying her best to stay at arm's length. So there's kind of like that push and pull between them. And we see Gemma crack just a little bit, just start to soften. That's really because she starts understanding that Brooke is a younger version of her.
I don't have a family. Not anymore, at least.
I was your age when they took me. They killed my family.
It was really important to me that Gemma isn't just cold. You know, we understand that she's got walls up and she keeps people at a distance, but there is a lot of vulnerability that she's protecting underneath.
The past follows us.
My wonderful husband wrote the music for this scene, as well as the opening. I mean, just what a gift. I'm a musician too, but I don't play piano, and he wrote this beautiful piece, and then I added in the strings and the other instrumentation around it. But it's such an honor to have somebody else come in and bring their artistic touch to your project. Just so grateful for that. We shot this at sunset rather than sunrise, and I remember we were really losing daylight because we got out there just a little bit too late. I was like, oh my god, the sun's setting, we gotta go. But we kind of, did some little color correction to make it look a little bit more sunrise-like, the idea being like they've rode all night and now here's like the hopeful sunrise. We don't specifically mention it in this film, but the organization that Gemma and Millie work for is called the Valkyrie Foundation. We learn more about them in our next film. My mom here plays Naomi, the head of the Valkyrie Foundation. I always laugh at the line, shadowy hands dragging us back through time, because it's just the way it's synced. It's right with her reaching out.
Shadowy hands dragging us back through time.
So it's almost like has the shadowy hands. My mom was very nervous shooting this scene, and I told her, I was like, look, you're not going to hear any dialogue, it's in slow motion, there's no audio, so you can literally be saying whatever you want, just kind of welcome the girls in, tell them where to go. And she was cracking everybody up because she kept being like, come in and get some hot somethings.
Wait, get some warm whatevers over in the other room. Get some nice warm whatevers. And I want you to get some nice hot whatever. And get some food.
And like everyone was just like in tears by the end.
I am what they made me. I am not broken, and I'm not afraid anymore.
It's challenging to write a monologue like that. I wanted it to be poetic, but I wanted it to feel like her character. I wanted it to kind of summarize what was going on. And so I think I wrote like 3 or 4 versions, and I just had Tamara read all of them a few times. And then in edit, I actually spliced together different versions just based on what was matching up with the visuals and what was resonating. We shot these sort of training scenes at the gym where Tamara was working at the time while it was closed. Peep the Christmas tree in the back. Gemma is a Christmas movie, so eat your heart out, die hard. And there you have it. I'm so proud of this film. I learned so much from making it, not just about writing and directing, but I challenged myself to learn about color grading, sound mixing, editing, even After Effects. I ended up pouring years into this project, and now obviously releasing a new version, getting the chance to kind of revisit and re-edit. So please go check out the 4K version that's now available on YouTube. I'd love to hear from you guys, so let me know in the comments what you loved, what you hated. Did you like this breakdown? What do you want to see more of in our next film? The sequel to Gemma is coming out very soon. I'm super excited. It's called Millie, and I can't wait to share it with you all. Thanks so much for watching.